Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. And we're going to be looking at the astrology of the month of February 2023. So let's get started. All right. So I already did the numbers and the Kabbalah. So now let's see what's going on. So we're looking at the first 11 days of February. We have a half of week and then a full week. So figured I would add it all together. We start with Friday, February 3rd, where we see a last quarter square of the sun to Uranus. This is a crisis in consciousness and a reorientation. The relationship between the sun and Uranus is one of illumination and change, illumination and revolution, turning the light on what needs to change, turning on the light around issues of freedom and agency. On Saturday, February 4th, we have Venus make a last quarter square to Mars. Venus and Mars are the two planets associated with relationships. Squares tend to be stressful but stimulating. So this could be a time of, let's just say, stimulating relating. So, you know, it's a Saturday, I was gonna say, and it's a Friday night, but it's a Saturday night. On Sunday, February 5th, we have a full moon at in Leo. It's at 17 degrees of Leo. And it is called a micromoon, meaning that the moon is as far as it can be from the Earth. So the moon will look smaller, even though it's full. And then on Monday, the 6th, we have Mercury making a waning sextile to Neptune. Sextiles are good always. Sex is always good when it comes to astrology. Well, sextiles anyway. Waning means that it's on the sort of the ebbing side of the ebb and flow, right? So we have the energy of what have we learned from the last year kind of energy here with these two planets. Now, Mercury is about how we communicate. It is the interface between the inside and the outside, really, is Mercury. It rules the nervous system. It's how we experience energy as it comes towards us from the outside and how we categorize it, right? Well, Neptune, and so Mercury in its nature wants to categorize, it wants to name it, right? And Neptune is all about, it doesn't matter, everything is it's the oneness, and so Neptune is associated with spirit, and so a sextile opens the lines of communication with our own wisdom, not just the wisdom of this lifetime, right, but lifetimes of wisdom. And so this is a time where you can connect with spirit, your spirit, and then then as we ascend and become more and more aware of the energies and the shifting energies, it's sometimes difficult to function because you're feeling things that don't always have a name to them. So that can happen with this sextile as well. So just be aware, you're going to be more sensitive, more psychic, and the like. On Wednesday, the 8th, Venus makes a waning sextile to Uranus. Again, sex is good. Venus and Uranus, it could be kinky, but I'm thinking more likely this is a really good time to maybe hang out with people who think like you, but maybe have different life experiences, right? So you may have a friend who's, grew up in a different kind of situation. This might be the time to sort of get to know, the differences, but ultimately we're all the same, right? So on Friday, we have Mercury make a conjunction to Pluto. Now, every time two planets make a conjunction, it's the start of a cycle, just like a new moon is the start of the lunation cycle. And so this sort of sets the seed for whatever those two planets symbolize. And again, Mercury is our ability to communicate and interface, and Pluto is the soul. So this is about interfacing with the soul, your own soul, and the collective soul. And the collective soul is in Capricorn. And Capricorn is about self-responsibility. And so through the period of time that Pluto's been in Capricorn, we've all had to learn a certain amount of self-responsibility. The blame game, while still somewhat profitable, as we see from certain politicians and lawyerly things, perhaps, and Maury Povich shows. Poor Maury, still doing it. God bless him, man. But you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. So this is a time for us to connect with the soul, And we're going to look at that, and we're going to look at this symbol and what degree it is and all the rest. So we're going to dig into this a little bit more. And then on Saturday, February 11th, Mercury will ingress into Aquarius. So Mercury makes a conjunction to Pluto, and then moves into in Capricorn and moves into Aquarius. Now, this just happened last month. This happened with Venus. Venus made a conjunction to Pluto, and then the next day or day and a half later, she moved into Aquarius. And so Venus led the way. Right now we have Mercury following behind, doing the same thing. And I believe, I think I'm right, it might actually be at the same degree. But let's take a look, or it may not be. I don't want to say till I look. All right, so this is the 3rd of February. This is Friday. This is that last quarter square. We see the sun in a sign that is actually ruled by Uranus. So this is not only is this like revolutionary in that we're dealing with a last quarter and reorienting a last quarter square between these two planets. We're also dealing with the planet of revolution here, Uranus. And then we have the sun in the sign of Uranus. So this is just like crack it open, right? This is cracking open the nut. And it's a very powerful time. And because it's close to the nodes, although Uranus is as far away from the nodes as it's been, because Uranus was sitting with the nodes for over 6 months, just going along with that north node, creating all of these new paradigms and new situations that we had never faced. And we can see that happening. There are things we haven't ever faced before, at least that we're aware of in this lifetime, and in the history that's written down. I mean, maybe some people know it because the history that gets written down is written by the victors, right? And that's kind of what this is all about, right? This is all revolution. So this is big. This is big. And I don't think, I think we have to take into consideration that we finally have some like people who supposedly know are talking about UFOs, that they and of course there's UFO people that have been talking about UFOs like since Roswell, or maybe even before that, because I'm sure Roswell wasn't the first one. And there is a theory that they're around more because we have nuclear capabilities. Like, they don't really want us to blow ourselves up, even though we're almost insisting upon it by giving nukes to you know, I mean, I just want to say this. I was listening, just going through the news, and this is being recorded at the end of January, so you know around what time I'm speaking of. And they were talking about something, and then oh, they said, I wonder how the protests are going on in Iran, and then like the bad news about the Iran nuclear program. Like, I don't know, it was just like two so like totally different. I don't know, it just seemed to me like you don't want, like, you would like to see something like what happened is happening in Iran, for the people to be able to have the life that they want, to break free, to be free. You know, they it wasn't always like that in Iran. It was a very secular place, and there's a lot of highly educated and skilled people, and they're just wasting away because of all the what do you call those things, sanctions, like sanctions. We're sanctioning at like we're the big boss. Anyway, I don't want to go there. This is supposed to be astrology. uh when we should really be supporting the groundswell, right? But that's what we should be supporting in our country as well. And um you know, and I'm glad we're helping the Ukrainians, because we all should be helping them, because they really are the front line of democracy. That's where the bombs are dropping, right? But here, you know, we have our own set of problems as well, and we need to see that it's not that different. That the problems we have here and the problems that are going on in in all of these problem areas is an abuse of power, is an abuse of power. And so we see this awareness perhaps creating the revolution of holding those leaders accountable for what they've done, um, and not allowing them to, and creating laws that protect all of us and not just a few who have the money, right? Like, it needs to be, and this is part of the whole Pluto in Aquarius energy that we're going to be in for like 22 years. So this will manifest itself, but this is the kind of energy we're talking about. This is the kind of change we're talking. We're in a different world. The old world no longer exists, folks. And this is, we're going to, and what is really happening, I think, in part, is this whole idea of resonance. We're resonating with those who we resonate with, and we don't it, and so that to a certain extent erases national borders, which really has the people who have all the power and all the money nervous, because people aren't going to listen to them. So this is the Capricorn Aquarius, right? And we're going to see this year for 3 months. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius, and then it's going to slip back into Capricorn. That'll be well, anyway, we'll see what happens with that. And so and then next year, we have 3 months of Pluto in Capricorn, and then the rest of the time it's in Aquarius. And then beyond that, it's in Aquarius for 20 years. So these are the issues, and it's a new world. It really is a new world. Connectivity is going to matter. What group you're in, right, is going to matter. All of that stuff. And yet that can be a trap as well. That can be a trap as well, because you want to have the capacity to express your individuality. Is it like, it could be the Borg, right? For those who know this, the Star Wars, Star Trek, sorry, Star Wars people, they get crazy. I'm a Star Trek person anyway. The Star Trek, you know, the Borg. So there's this, well, it's oppositional, right? And the reason for that is because Pluto falls through its polarity point. And so when Pluto falls through its polarity point, the whole time Pluto was in Capricorn, it was really about turning us into being responsible for our own feelings. What are we feeling? Why are we feeling that? You know, really getting in touch with that. Emotional insecurity, a lot of emotional insecurity, and the things that are sort of born out of that. And so we've had to learn to self-soothe to a certain extent through this period, because those in the people that we were told knew what was best, you know, they all have clay feet, and you know, there's a lot of, where there's power, there's abuse of power, and we're dealing with all of the, like, you know, I don't know, just some of the darker stuff that you're seeing, you know, all these conspiracy theories, like it's this, it's that, it's this. It's like, it's all of it. It doesn't, it's not, it's just like, that's just a portion of an issue. But it's when you think it's one thing, you lose the ability to see the connections in all things. And so it's important to stay open minded, but not go down the rabbit hole that is there. And that's, I think, going to also be a challenge for us, because this is a time of people going to be searching for answers. And while there are many well-intended people giving those answers, there are a lot of not well-intended people giving those answers. So we really have to be discerning at this time. Okay, so I've been talking and talking and talking. Let's look at this particular aspect. So the sun is last quarter square Uranus. It is a crisis in belief. It is a reorientation. We're reorienting our lives so that they line up with our experience, not what we've been told, but what we know through our own experience. This is 3/4 of the way through the Sun Uranus synod, or synodic cycle, and that began on the 5/5 portal, May 5th, 2022. I did a portal reading. You could go back and, I don't know what I said. I have no idea. It comes in and it goes out. Unless I go back and listen to it, I don't. It's more of a channel sometimes, especially the portal readings, because I do cards and stuff with them. So you can check. Actually, I'll put a link. I'll put a link to the portal reading. Why not, right? I help myself, help you to help me, or whatever. And that's a saving symbol for that day, which incidentally, the day vibration was a 16/7, which is the Tower card at 15 degrees of Taurus. 15 degrees of Taurus here. That's where it is. That's where Uranus is. It's right where it began this cycle. That's what makes this so very powerful. A head covered with a rakish silk hat, muffled against the cold. A man braves a storm. 2022 was quite the storm, wasn't it? And there's more storm to come. There's more storm to come. The courage needed to meet the crisis precipitated by social ambition. Doesn't that sound familiar? Whose social ambition? Is it yours? It might not be. Could be somebody else's social ambition, wanting to be the almighty, powerful Oz. But we're all Totos, and we all get to pull the curtain aside using our instincts, right? So we have a last quarter square to Uranus at 15 degrees of Taurus, and the sun is at 15 degrees of Aquarius. Two lovebirds sitting on a fence and singing happily. Isn't that lovely? The blessings bestowed upon personal achievements by spiritually fulfilled consciousness of the soul. This is about the lovebirds are you and your own soul, because through your soul you connect with all the other souls. So you're never alone. You're never alone. And this, of course, is the challenge, right? This is the challenge of our time, letting go and trusting that we have the capacity and maybe even the personal power to create the world that we want to see, right? And yet we still have to look at the reality of things. We have to look with a very sort of cold eye in a way as to where we are. And that this really is a time when there is a choice, and the choice is a big one, let's just say. So on Saturday, is it? Yeah, Saturday, the 4th of February, we have Venus make its last quarter square to Mars. This is a crisis in belief square reorientation of relationship, how we relate to one another. Here we have Venus and Mars are 3/4 through the Venus-Mars synodic cycle, which actually began with 2 conjunctions, both in the beginning of 2022. Venus and Mars have about 2-year synodic cycle, and we are through a year. Now, we just had a Mars retrograde. We're going to have a Venus retrograde as well. Is it July? I think it's July to August in Leo. So we're 3/4 through the cycle, but there's a lot in that last quarter that's going to happen. But the two conjunctions, so the seed, right? The seed was February 16th, which was at 17 degrees of Capricorn. Incidentally, the day, February 16, 2022, was a 24/6, which is the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands sitting on her throne with her black cat and her hearth fires burning. The powerful, creative, feminine. Okay. Making a conjunction at 17 degrees of Capricorn. The Sabian symbol, a repressed woman finds psychological release in nudism. The escape from bondage to social inhibitions and reliance upon the wisdom of the body. This is about trusting your body and your feelings and not listening to the mind, or not necessarily your mind. You have to have a mind, of course, but the energy of air and fire, which is masculine, right? That now you need air and fire. We need all the elements, but air and fire has had the upper hand, where that which is intellectual and that which is spiritual is considered better than or not equal to our feelings and our bodies. So this is a time of the higher and the lower coming together. Where does that come together? In the heart. In the heart. Love. Love is what we need. Love is what we need. And perhaps we have a need to be alone for a little while, 7 years, so that we realize, right, that we need each other. We need each other. I love this symbol, of course. Of course, why wouldn't I love this symbol? I was watching something, I don't know, and it's really, I think it was TYT, which I love, but they oftentimes like replay like the people who drive me crazy. It's so hard for me to listen to Tucker Carlson. It's just like certain voices just grate you know, and he's one of them. And so, but I sat through it. It was like, I don't know, he was talking for like 3 minutes. It felt like 3 hours to me. But he was like, they were showing how he like responds to like when he's into this masculine thing, masculine, the rights of the masculine, and, you know, tanning the testicles and all that stuff. And he was like just so misogynistic. And I was like, and that seems to be the theme, right? Is this like might makes right, because I have the gun. I have the last word. It doesn't matter what you say. I can kill you right here. The power of killing. We see it all over I mean, that's what's being shown, right? The power of and then of course the ultimate, right? The ultimate killing is a nuclear weapon. One bomb and we're all done. Yep, done, finished, annihilation. Um, and that's what we're facing. I was watching, and I was a little disappointed, I have to say, because sometimes it comes out, my little old lady comes out, and I was watching Jimmy Kimmel, who I generally love, and he was doing something about how we're 90 seconds away from midnight, and they have the clock, what's the time that's left, and he kind of made fun of the whole thing, which in a way I understand, but in another way, it's like, it's not really that funny, Jimmy. This is really, this could be it. This could be, annihilation, unless you know something I don't know, Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? So I was a little bit, but I am, oh, anyway. So that's one thing, right? So this was seeded in the Mars-Venus conjunction back in February of last year. So we're dealing with all these issues, right? So the second conjunction occurred at 1 degree of Aquarius. Now, 1 degree of Aquarius is very powerful because in 2020, Saturn and Jupiter came together. Every 20 years, they make a conjunction. It's called generational synod. And they made the conjunction in the 1st degree of Aquarius. And that 1st degree of Aquarius has been getting hit by different planetary combinations. And this was one of them, the conjunction. The interesting thing about Venus and Mars was Venus and Mars came together in Capricorn. And then they had to go through the gauntlet of Pluto to get to the other side to make the conjunction in Aquarius. That was a big shift. That was huge shift. And so this 1st degree of Aquarius is very hot. And of course, what's going to be on the 1st degree of Aquarius come March 23rd of 2023, but Pluto. Oh, that should be interesting. So this has been going since really the end of 2020, which incidentally was when Trump lost. Okay. An old Adobe mission in California, saving symbol for 1 degree. The power inherent in all great human works to endure far beyond the worker's lifespan. This is about building things for the future, right? Building things for the future. And part of that is how we relate to one another. How we relate to one another. So now we're at the last quarter square. Mars is at 12 degrees of Gemini, the Sabian symbol for 12 of Gemini. A Negro girl fights for her independence in the city. Liberation from the ghosts of the past. We just had another horrific Black man murdered by police in Memphis. Right? Venus is at 12 degrees of Pisces. In a sanctuary of an occult brotherhood, newly initiated members are being examined and character tested. The ever-repeating challenge presented to the individual by the group in which he has claimed acceptance, the challenge to prove himself and his ability to assume responsibility effectively. Now, that's all well and good, assuming that what the group is saying is responsible. So we have the square with those Sabian symbols, either the Negro girl or the initiate both are being tested. We're all being tested. And then we have the full moon. My mother, Angelina, who passed away in December at 102.4 years old, her sun is at 16, 17 of Leo. And so this full moon, her sun is, highlighted in her chart. And I'm going to be interring her with my dad on Monday the 6th. So I wanted to actually do it on Sunday, but it's more expensive, and it's already too expensive. So I'm doing it on Monday. But having that happen, I picked this time for the full moon. Hopefully it doesn't snow. Snow is down in New Jersey, but oh yeah. Anyway, too many things to think about. This full moon, of course, is square the nodal axis, and this full moon is very close to an exact conjunction to Uranus. We just had the square, and then we have the full moon. When the full moon happens, big feelings, and the moon's in Leo, so how big can you get, right? It's interesting that it's the furthest away from us at this time with this energy of Leo. I think it's probably a good thing on a certain level, because Leo can really, expand itself, especially with Jupiter in a fire sign. There's a lot of expansion of fire with this energy, even though it's not exactly aspecting the moon in Leo. But Jupiter is actually, well, no, it's kind of wide, but Jupiter is actually aspecting Black Moon Lilith in Leo. Black Moon Lilith is where we're willing to go to extremes, and in Leo it can be extreme drama. So this is something else we need to be aware of at this time. Things can really get blown out of proportion. The full moon at 17 of Leo, the fruition of seeds planted at the new moon at 2 degrees of Aquarius on January 21st, 2023. So this was just 2 weeks ago. And the 2911 is the vibration that the word light vibrates to. It is associated with Bina, the place of the divine feminine. It is a 11, so it's a master number, and it's an initiation to a new level, right? That was the Aquarius new moon. That was the day of the Chinese New Year, where this guy came in and shot, what was it, 11 people? And it wasn't from the outside, it was from inside the community itself. So this is showing us on a certain level, and God bless them. This is showing us that we're not dealing with the anger, and we're not dealing with the men. There's something that they need. They feel so disempowered that they're doing to women, their mothers, their sisters, the people they say they love. These are things that we really have to come to terms with. It's not just men and women either. It's feeling, and it's soul, and it's just the way we treat one another. It's are we analyzing ourselves into rationalizations, or are we feeling our feelings? I say we're doing both, which is why so many people are having mental illness, because the paradigm that they grew up in doesn't hold the energy of the feelings. that they're feeling. And then you add the whole gun thing, and that you can go to like this corner store with like a pack of gum and $1,000 and get something that could kill 100 people in like a minute or 5 minutes or however long it takes, right? So this is, we have to like come to terms with this. We have to say, whoa, no, this is not what we want to do. And these aspects indicate that to a certain extent. This is the time. This is the crossroads. We're at the crossroads. The Sabian symbol for that new moon, that this full moon is the culmination of, is an unexpected thunderstorm. The need to develop the inner security which will enable us to meet unexpected crises. You have to know yourself. You have to know what's important to you. You have to feel it. You have to feel it and know it. It's two things. You have to use all your senses. You have to use your water, you have to use your earth, you have to use your air, and you have to use your fire in balance. That's what the Magician card is about in the tarot. The balancing of the elements with a focused mind and a focused intention to create and manifest what it is that you want to create. And that happens in Bina, where this was born. So now we have the moon at 17 of Leo, a volunteer church choir singing religious hymns. The feeling of togetherness which unites men and women in their dedication to a collective ideal. So that's connecting with song. It doesn't have to be religious. You can just go to a karaoke bar and start singing with everybody, right? This need to be together, opposing the sun at 17 degrees Aquarius. A watchdog stands guard, protecting his master and his possessions. The development of the capacity to protect oneself and safeguard one's individual rights. Excuse me, I can't see what it says. Under complex social pressures. If this doesn't completely point to the situation we find ourselves in, I don't know what two symbols could, honestly. And I want to read you a third symbol, which I don't have. I don't have here, but I have the book. Let me see. It's gracious. I thought I didn't put it on the thing. What the heck is it? I apologize, guys. I'm looking for my Sabian symbol book. All right. I'll do it a different way. Oh, if I can't do that. Hold on. I want to read the Sabian symbol for 16 of Taurus. So we have this full moon with these two symbols, right? And then we have Uranus. Uranus, the great awakener, asking us to build something new, a new way of feeling about something. This is about depending on your creativity, aligns with the need to rethink the way we structure our society. And now we're going to look at, now I know I've read it before, but I don't remember what it says. So I'm doing this off the top of my head without preparation. Because why not? We're talking about Uranus, doing it, going outside of the box. So this is the symbol for Uranus at 16 degrees of Taurus. Now you may say it's not at 16, it's at 15. When you're using the Sabian symbols, you have to add the minutes. So if this was 1500, like it was in the previous slide, and maybe I can do a little fancy thing. No, can't do the fancy. I should know better. I was going to go back. It was at 15, now it's at 1501. So it says, an oath teacher fails to interest his pupils in traditional knowledge. The inadequacy of past knowledge in a time of crisis. Folks, we haven't been here before. And so we're going to have to use all the elements. We're going to have to use our spirit, our creativity, the fire, our practical nature, our bodies, our work, earth, our mind, air, and our heart, cups, love, connection, oneness, all of it together. February 6th, we have a sextile. Remember, sex is good. Between Neptune, which is about oneness, divinity, compassion, but it can also be delusion and illusion, because not everybody works on the higher vibrational energies here. And so we have a communication sextile and a distribution of knowledge. And we have Neptune powerfully placed in Pisces, and we have Mercury here in Capricorn. And Mercury in Capricorn is, it's about bringing the structure to what we know, creating the structures for what we know, but yet connected to spirit, connected to an inspiration from spirit. Very, very powerful week. There's not a lot of like, well, actually, this is kind of like, this is the most odd thing. I think that's like these first couple of weeks of February are a little more odd than others, but Jesus. But then at the end of February, it sort of eases off, and so a lot of this, like, now all this like, oh my God, stuff doesn't have to be traumatic. It's enlightening. It's like Saul becoming Paul because he got hit by lightning on the way to the road to Damascus, right? That kind of thing. And isn't there stuff happening on the road to Damascus? Hasn't things been happening there? Hasn't that whole area been sort of like all up in smoke, a lot of it, So, and now we have what's going on in Israel. Those are power places, traditional power places, those places. And so there's, why do they want that land? Why that land, right? And of course, historical, I understand the reason that's where they came from. This is what they were promised. But there's something about that land, folks. There's something about that land. So we shall see about that, shan't we? Shan't we? Okay, on the 8th, we have Venus make a sextile to Uranus. There's Venus in Pisces. Venus loves Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces. It's really nice when Venus is in Pisces. That's something that is nice about February, is that Venus is in her exaltation. Now, she does shift into Aries, and she does that, I think, on the 26th. Nope. There's Venus. Venus. No, that's Mercury. Maybe she stays in Pisces. I could be wrong about that. Venus in Taurus. Now, when does she go into Aries? Oh, yes. Venus goes to Aries on the new moon. On the new moon in Pisces. Wow, isn't that interesting? Talk about, like, there's all this new stuff, right? It's all this energy of newness. So Venus in Pisces, wonderful energy. Trine Uranus in Taurus. This is and Venus rules Taurus. So Venus has sort of sway over this aspect, I think, I would say anyway. And so love conquers like love. And how about this? How about a revolution of love? How about a new revolution of love? On the 10th of February, now we had all this like woo, 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 right? And now we have Mercury conjunct Pluto starting that synodic cycle. This is an annual cycle in which the collective soul, Pluto, seeds the planet of communication and information gathering, Mercury. Mercury pretty much gets its marching orders from the soul. This occurs at 29 degrees of Capricorn. A woman reading tea leaves. Very interesting. All these symbols with women in them. The ability to see the signature of hidden meaning in every occurrence, drawing one's attention. This is about clairvoyance. This is about seeing the patterns and reading the signs. Mother Nature talks to us in symbols and signs all the time. We see symbols and signs with our clock. How many times do you pass the clock and see 11:11? I saw 11:11 this morning, actually. And we have it. In this chart is for the US, and it's in the 9th house. And the 9th house is foreign places, right? And it's also judiciary and things like that. So using our maybe more intuitive sense on how to be, how to move through the world, This is actually, I said that the same thing happened with Venus. Well, the same thing did happen with Venus. Venus made a conjunction to Pluto, and then the next day or 2 days later, it moved into Aquarius, which is normal because Pluto's at the end of Capricorn. But it's interesting that it's like whoop, these Pluto meetings, and then it moves on to getting to the point, getting to the stuff, right? But this was the same degree as the Sun-Pluto conjunction, and that cycle began on the 18th of January. And what was interesting about the 18th of January, if I'm correct, I believe that was the day that Mercury went direct. So the soul is speaking. We better start listening. I know you guys are listening because you're listening to me. Why else would you be listening to me? And then, are we going to do this one? Is this one part? Oh, sorry. Yes, this will be the last. This will be, I think, the last thing. Mercury ingresses into Aquarius, and we can see here. Here's Mercury ingressing into Aquarius. Aquarius has a classical ruler and a modern ruler. Its classical ruler is Saturn, and Saturn is in Aquarius at this time. Trine the moon. So there's an ability, and the moon is in Libra, which is about peace. So there's an ability to maybe create some sort of path to peace here with this ingress into Aquarius. And we also have Uranus as the other ruler of a modern ruler of Aquarius, and we have that in Taurus, of course. Just now getting out of the conjunction, almost no longer conjunct the North Node. But I'm not sure it's actually making aspects to anything else. So, well, yeah, I would make a sextile to Neptune. I mean, to Venus still. Okay, I was thinking it was unaspected, but it's not. Ooh, that's good. Oh, we do have a hammer of Thor, though. I hadn't seen that. So we have Mars in Gemini, the power of the spoken word, or the power of the written word, or the power of the word, perhaps. And on each end we have the moon in Libra here, saying the people, the moon, want peace. Square Pluto and Mercury here. Mercury in Aquarius now, but Pluto here in the last degrees of Capricorn. We want the powerful held accountable, and we want them to listen to us. And of course, Mercury in Aquarius is the voice of the people. So that's what's happening, guys. That's the first 11 days of February. I was going to, I was going to actually try to do the whole month, but I got chatty, so I apologize. But I think there was a lot of good information came out, so I don't feel bad. I'll just do it again, and next time, right? Next time I'll do it in a week, and we'll have the next couple of weeks of February to look at. But let me tell you, the light is on, guys. The light is on in your eyes, in your heart, in your mind. The light is being shown. The direction is clear. The direction is clear. How we're actually going to get there is not so clear. And so expect miracles. Focus on what it is you want to have. Maybe this is a good time for you to really write it down. What do you want your life to look like? And you can be as specific as you want to be, I guess, but what is it that's most important? What is it that's most important to you? Is it health? Is it wealth? Is it freedom? Is it peace? Is it, what is it, right? And we can do this, but we can only do it together. So let's work on that. All right, guys, have yourself a wonderful week, 11 days, as it were. And I'll see you next time for the astrology of February 2023, whatever week that is. 12th on. All right, take care, everyone. Namaste.